Hello everyone. I'm enjoying this beautiful nature in this moment, and in the first video I talked a little bit about what Christ consciousness is, and in this video I'd like to expand a little bit more on actually how to connect to Christ's consciousness and how to let this sort of be embodied in your own experience, in yourself, and to understand how this comes about, basically. First of all, I'd like to share that Christ is not actually a specific being only. Christ is this. This is Jesus has said this through A Course in Miracles, which is that Christ is the self we all share. Christ is not only belonging to or available for one specific being, which then would be sort of like a savior or Messiah or something in this nature. No, Christ consciousness is actually coming into Christ consciousness is simply connecting to energies that are constantly flowing through Earth or cosmic energy. I mean, words are words, but essentially it's cosmic energy flowing flowing through Earth that is always available for us to tap into, to connect to, and to live through. And in the first video I spoke a little bit about this recognition, this understanding that the only thing I've ever really wanted with and for another human being is perfect love. And that may sound strange, may not sound strange at all, but even if it sounds strange that the only thing I've ever wanted with and for another human being is perfect love, even if it may sound a little bit, I don't know, unusual, so to speak, it is actually a part of you knows that this is truth. This is truth for why you came, why you're here to experience perfect love. It doesn't mean that you are responsible for every being on earth and etc., etc. That's not what it means. It just means that it means that you are a purely innocent being that is here to love. And you're not here only to love one person or one family or one body or one this or that. You're actually here to have the chance to feel the availability and possibility of loving all. And in loving all, there's an enormous sense of relief. It's actually not taking on more responsibility. It's actually recognizing and realizing that love is the only thing that exists, right? So have you ever heard statements such as God is love, the only thing that exists is love, all you need is love, and everything is love in that sense. Creation is a constant blossoming miracle of pure alive newness, constantly just expanding and evolving into light, more love. But even though you might have heard that, it doesn't necessarily mean that you can simply just connect to that and live that all throughout your day. What Christ consciousness, I would say, is sort of the equivalent for how to see the world, so to speak, so that this love becomes, so you feel that this love is real for you, so that you feel that love, this complete universal love is real for you. And Yes, I studied A Course in Miracles for several years. I still read the book, and Course in Miracles is very disciplined. In a way, it feels to guide guide one's mind essentially to the recognition or understanding of Christ consciousness. So essentially, that book is already the tool available for us to use to live Christ consciousness. But I can, in this video, share with you a little bit more about the specific, what I would say, the specific kind of piece in which one opens that Christ consciousness door, realizes that one is a Christ conscious being, and that Christ is actually the self we all share. So how does that look? How does that play out in one's life then? I mean, these words are very, very sort of kind and loving and very like flowery in a way, but how does that translate into one's actual way of walking through life? And I would say that that's essentially also what A Course in Miracles teaches you to tap into, to learn. But the one thing that I've come to understand, which is the sort of the most important to me, the most important part of Course in Miracles is the vision of Christ. Seeing through the eyes of Christ, which is then, for example, imagine that you're walking in a city, right? And it might seem like there are separate people, different people in a sense, walking around in the streets, but that is really not the case, because everything is the same one energy. So in that sense, when you see someone else, you actually do not see someone else. You see something that is within your consciousness, right? So through seeing through a vision of Christ, you see the Christ, which is essentially your purest self, in someone else. You realize in that moment there is no one else. It is simply Christ recognizing Christ. It is pure, and this does not have to be like you walk up to someone and someone is suddenly giving you very eye-gazing, loving eye-gazing like connection or something. It is simply a very intimate, very pure recognition in another human being that there is nothing in between. There's nothing in between you and anyone. I mean, we might have all of us have experienced what it feels like to be one with another human being, maybe in an intimate experience, or maybe I'm just sharing examples, but it could be playing a sports game. You feel as one with the whole, with the group. Christ consciousness is feeling as one and as whole with all beings through recognizing this vision of Christ. And it's not something you do, it's not something you achieve, it's simply a very intimate recognition. It's just a seeing. It's seeing through the eyes of Christ. And in that you see, it's a feeling of then recognizing or remembering what you are. Because what you see then is the Christ, and the Christ is then being reflected back to you. So you feel as if you are seeing someone else for who they are, and that they are seeing you for what you are. So it's a very sense of feeling of familiarity, a feeling of there are no strangers, there are no people that can come and sort of disturb my sense of reality or disturb my mind or my outlook on life or anything in this nature. This is available for everyone all the time to see through. It's just that, and I think most of us, if not all of us on Earth at this point, has seen this, even if we've not been conscious about it, seen it, in sporadic moments. This pure recognition of the Christ, and it's not a thing that sort of pops up and that manifests suddenly in your perception. It's actually a dropping of all perceptions. It's a dropping of perceiving at all, because that's the whole sort of distinction that A Course in Miracles makes, is between knowledge and perception. Perceptions vary. What I perceive, if there would walk in right here a man of a large-sized man, I would maybe perceive him differently than what someone else would perceive him as. So perceptions are not continuous in that sense, or perceptions are not true in its purest nature. It has a function, but knowledge in that sense is what you're being restored to. You're being restored to knowledge through the vision of Christ, seeing that He really is no other. It's a dropping of all perceptions and all projections, and you see then this intimate recognition of just like seeing someone. It's seeing beyond the body. It's seeing beyond the body into pure spirit or pure Christ, which is actually what we all share, what we all are in truth. And for me personally, I found it to be a recognition of a lot of relief. I remember walking in Stockholm, and where I may have perceived beings as other than me, or different, or older, or younger, or this or that. All of these perceptions are actually made up, have no actual foundation in what is true in life. Rather, Christ is that pure transcendent light, which is that this whole, as I'm filming here, this whole nature scene is actually an emanation of this pure transcendent light. But the Christ consciousness and the vision of Christ directs your point of focus directly to this transcendent light. So in that sense, you can actually transcend what you have seen as the whole world, which may have been made up out of different stuff, or seemingly things that appeared to be this or that. All of this you can actually transcend through the Christ consciousness, and you're then being sort of brought above what is separating, because it's not created by something else. It does not. There's no out there, right? There's no outside. It is all then these perceptions or these projections that you may have experienced in your reality as separating, or as tension, or as fear. These things actually have existed not outside of you in some form of world, but in your mind, and through the vision of Christ, you see through all of this and into what is true, what has always been true, what will always be true. And this is that perfect love, that pure transcendent light, that indestructible spirit that all souls emanate out of or from. And yeah, I remember walking in Stockholm and recognizing this, seeing this, and feeling like a sense of relief that I am not here merely for myself, because I am not a separate being. I'm not a person here in life to only interact with other beings, or to get something, or to try to. I'm actually here to walk in this understanding that that in this oneness that is all of life, right? So it is a sense of letting go of the old world, letting go of this, the world of stories, letting go of the world of stories or drama or things that are appearing to be this way and that way, or this way and then this way, and things that are like appear to be fragmented or separated. All of these things unify into, or actually disappears when the mind, educated through A Course in Miracles about what, Christ, like Christ consciousness is, or rather you are being directed into Christ as Christ, then all of these fragmented things sort of just simply melt or fade away into that unification, which is what you are. And this unification actually encompasses everything that you experience. So essentially, the one thing I want to leave with you in this video is the vision of Christ, where I think in the Course in Miracles is discussed more as the Christ of God, or the Christ of God, which is that sort of, I don't know what I've spoken about already, that very intimate, pure recognition. I remember one time I walked in nature like this, and I'd see a couple walking with a dog, and I would see this Christ of God in them, both of them. And I did not I did not perceive like myself walking there, and all of a sudden was a couple there, and all that could sort of bring up different thoughts or kind of emotions within your own psyche, or there's like that could sort of trigger something if perceived as something other than you. But I perceived, or actually dropped the perceptions and saw the vision of Christ. And this is something that kind of just happened. It's spontaneous. It's not something I sort of plan. It's something that plays out in your experience, in your consciousness, as the mind, as you understand what Christ is, and the whole teaching that A Course in Miracles presents. And I would see this Christ of God in this couple, and it felt like I had always known these two beings. Like I've always loved them. Like I've always cared for them, or always been there for them, and that they have always been there for me. In that sense, a very liberating experience, a very undemanding experience, an experience of completion, experience of complete relevance on all levels, not just because some experience that we have may be satisfactory on one level, in one sense, in one way or another. It may be satisfaction to but it's not a sense of completion in our whole being. And this Christ recognition of Christ is such a wonderful experience that is so brings you so above what is personal, yet it is the most personal experience I've ever had of complete just unification with the universal oneness. And this is not, as I've said, this is the Christ of God is the sort of doorway into the recognition that Christ is the self that we all share. So in that sense, you can actually live your life in connection with this, with Christ, as Christ. So yes, that's what I wanted to share in this video. I will do more videos. We talk more about this soon, but for so long, thank you for watching this quite extended video, and have an amazing day.